if there was a way to leave behind overwhelm and a stressful business and experience recognition, financial success, and fulfillment because you're collaborating with other really amazing, powerful people? Hi, it's Melanie Benson Strick here. I'm America's leading small business optimizer. And this weekly series, I interview all kinds of amazing experts, entrepreneurs, small business owners who found a way to take a business and make it work 10 times better. And it's so much fun to learn from them each week. What are some little things that are making a big difference, not only in their results, but in their peace of mind and in the way they get to bring their passions to the world? Now today I have a really special friend here. His name is Darius Barazandeh, and he's a Finding Your $1 Million Gift, founder of the Messenger Revolution and U-Wealth Revolution. And Darius and I have this amazing way in which our lives keep getting intertwined. And I wanted to have him come today and not only share a little bit about a way in which he's found this great business model to leverage his time and his energy and to play with really amazing people, but what his own journey has been about, because he's had some significant changes that have made huge impact on the world. And Darius actually interviewed me, what was it, a year ago, Darius?
Yeah, it was about 1 year ago.
Yeah, about almost a year. And I didn't know him at the time. And he said, hey, do you want to be a part of this Messenger Revolution? And I thought, hey, this is a great subject. There's some awesome people he's playing with. Sure, why not? We had a great interview. He was one of the most masterful interviewers I'd ever experienced. I don't know if I told you that, Darius, but you really are. And just pulled out so many amazing things from the interview. And we were able to just impact some people's lives together.
Yeah.
And then we ended up in this mastermind together, in a virtual mastermind, and reconnected. And exciting news, Darius and I decided to partner up, and I'm co-hosting with him his Messenger Revolution this year, which is so fun on, I don't know, so many levels for me, Darius, because it's another way we get to collaborate. It's another way we get to impact together. And I get to do something I love. You get to do something I love, or that you love and I love.
Yeah.
It's just such a great win-win. So I'm so excited that you could come on today and share so much about your journey. And I know a lot of people are going to learn a lot today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. And just to let everybody know, the Messenger Revolution actually starts September 17th. So we'll tell you kind of about that. But I'm excited to be here. And I know that everybody who is here, there's a reason you found us today and you found this video and this talk that we're going to give. So just be present to what opens up in you, because Melanie and I have been probably in the same place you are right now and know exactly what you're feeling.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. There's always a catalytic moment for us to create a business. And maybe let's share a little bit about where you were and what was the decision point for you to create these new summits and focus on that.
Well, it didn't start with the summits and some of the things that we've done with Messenger and U-Wealth. It really started just with this feeling that I had right after 9/11. I started out in a consulting firm back when there was the big 5 firms. I was a consultant, but I really couldn't stand what I was doing. I didn't feel like it was really serving me. It wasn't serving the people that I wanted to serve. And like so many, I just would get up every day and I just didn't like what I was doing. I was dreading my day. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't earning enough that I really felt like I could ever really get anywhere, even though it was a good job. The challenge was that something inside of me was calling me to do something else, something bigger. And I took that call. I mean, I literally said, you know what, I'm going to quit this job. And I remember walking. We were at a client site. I remember walking. It was like 20 feet to my boss at this client site to tell him, look, I can't do this anymore. I've got to go out. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I've got to have my own business. And it was the longest 20 feet of my life that I'd ever walked. And when I finally got there to him, we talked, and he literally just discouraged me for like 30 minutes as to why I would fail and why it wouldn't work and why it was so difficult. And so it was just like, oh my gosh. And I remember deciding and sticking to my guns and saying, you know what, I'm still not going to do this anymore. I'm leaving. And I came home, and for that next week, I sat at my desk. Phone wasn't ringing. There was no activity. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I had done some little business ventures, and I remember looking at a piece of paper, and I started to cry. And I looked at this piece of paper. In fact, I was probably about 28 years old guy. This was way back in 2001. And I'm just crying my eyes out. You might ask, well, what in the world would make you cry? What's on that piece of paper? And there were 5 digits on that piece of paper. And it was a 5, a 0, a 0, 0, and a 0. $50,000. The question for my mind was, how do I earn $50,000 a year so I can survive? Because that was what I was earning way back when I started at that job. And so that was the idea. And I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out. I think this is a travesty in the world today, that everybody has this amazing gift to give. Everybody has something magical inside of them. And I was this educated guy, had an MBA, all this background, had been in consulting. I couldn't figure out, how do I earn $50,000 a year doing what I love to do and helping other people? And just to fast forward to the present, this passion business, now, that once I figured this stuff out, really in a very short period of time, everything changed. And it took me a while to get there. Today, we've reached people in over 130 countries. This last year, we did something like $3.5 million in sales, helping people, saving people from suicide, helping people find what they're here to do. And every day, I have to literally pinch myself because I realized there was a tipping point. If I didn't do 1 or 2 key things, that never would have happened. And hopefully we can share what some of those things are for you today.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know if you know this, if we ever figured this out, but we left corporate or kind of that last job at the same year.
Really?
Yeah, I left in 2001 too.
Oh my gosh.
We keep finding more cool stuff. That's great. Well, let's go deeper then. Let's talk about what was that game changer for you. I think having the switch or the courage to step into your calling, not knowing what it is, trying to sort it all out. There's a game-changing moment in there somewhere where you realize, okay, if I just do this way, it's all going to be easier. It's all going to be better. So maybe share with us a little bit about what those pivotal moments are. Maybe there's more than one.
Yeah. Well, for me, it really was something I called the $1 million gift. And that's kind of a misnomer because a lot of people think, okay, do I have this $1 million gift? Is this something someone gives to me? This is something you find in yourself. And it's sometimes going to be a little different than you might expect. Because a lot of people think, well, if I'm actually given $1 million, then I've got the $1 million gift. Or if I can help someone earn $1 million, then I've got this $1 million gift. Or if I really transform somebody's life, or I do something really magical with my business, I heal people from, it's terrible sickness, then I've got the $1 million gift. Then what I have basically has immense value. And what you have to do as an entrepreneur, what I had to do was I had to find that value first. I had to find it before anyone else in the world even saw it. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive. It's like, where is that going to come from? How are you going to find that if you're not already doing it? And here's the catch. Here's the key. Here's what I realized. The big game changer. Inside of you, that's already there. That part of you, we'll call it your future self. We may even call it a doppelganger, which is German for twin. That part of you that can give that much value, that could create that much change in the world, that much transformation, that much blessing, that part of you is already inside. That part of you already exists. And it's trying to reach you and create your day. It's trying to create what you give to the world, right? It's that little voice inside of you that is calling you forward every day while you're sitting in traffic. And you're dreading that commute to work, and you're dreading that day at the office. It's that part of you that's saying, you're meant to do so much more. It's that part of you that, as you finish your day and you lay in bed and everyone's asleep, maybe your wife and kids and the family, and you're just thinking, there's got to be more. That's the part of you. Now, most people shrug that off and say, well, I just need to have a great weekend, or I need to go on vacation. But what you have to do as an entrepreneur is you have to go in and you have to really listen to that voice. And you have to feed that voice. And you have to ask that voice. Ask that voice, what is it that really would make my heart sing? What is it I'm really here to do? And just play with that. And once you do, here's another question. if I am my maximal self, if my idea is as big as this passion in my heart, and what I do actually has the full value that it's capable of having, like when it really becomes magical, really becomes perfected, what value could I have then on people's lives?
And you got
Right?
to make that bigger than the fears and the all the silly stuff that we later go, oh my God, that was so silly that I let that get in the way. But at the time, those fears become very real. So I think what you're saying is you've got to make that what that is and what you feel could be more powerful for you, bigger than where
Yeah.
you are right now.
And it's the heart. I mean, really, like we talk about this a lot on some of my different events because really the key catalyst to all this is really the heart. You know, the heart has an electromagnetic field that's 5,000 times more powerful than the brain, travels
Wow.
out even farther. When you really activate your heart, in other words, fall in love with what you're going to be doing. And in my story, I mean, it's just black and white for me because I started out as an attorney. I had a law degree and an MBA, and when I left my corporate job in consulting, my natural inclination of what I was good at was, well, I can show people how to do things with their business
Mm-hmm.
because I'm an attorney and I know how to do certain things like set up companies and make certain types of investments. And so that seemed like the natural thing to do. And guess what? It's the first thing you're going to do when you're scared. You're going to go to what you currently know, what you currently are, your current skill set, and say, okay, how can I do something with this? That's the biggest mistake you can make.
So true. It's like
The
you lead
right
with your
thing to
head.
do, yeah. Go ahead, Mel.
No, go ahead. I was just saying, you just lead with your head.
You're leading with your head, and then you get into these situations where you're delivering something that you're not really in love with, but it's what you're good at, it's what your friends know you as, it's your little
Thing.
bitty facade, it's your mask that you've been
Mm.
wearing, and it seems like the perfect place to hide. The real question is, like, what really fires your soul? What really fires your heart? What do you really fall in love with? And truthfully, once you do that, everything changes. For me, just to put some meat around this, I was doing that for about 8 years, actually, from 2001 to about 2008, really, about 7 years. And my business was stuck at that $50,000 a year mark. And in 2009, or late 2008, early 2009, I had a whole, like, literally life, just like pulled the rug out from under me. I went through divorce, so marriage ended. My business had been doing pretty good, but it was just stuck. It really wasn't going anywhere. And I had done all these things, like written more books in the same subject matter, did all the stuff everyone was telling me to do. But you see, when you're not really in love with what you do, your heart's not going to let you get beyond that. I believe there's a part of us that will stop us. It's almost like our life path doesn't let us go past that ceiling until we're really doing what we're put on this earth to do.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of us that wants to give from the greatest part of ourselves. It wants to exhaust all reserves because it knows that once we tap into that infinite part, there's more of us to give, right? Unless we get to that, we never get there. There's a great quote by Patanjali I'll share with you guys towards the end. But for me, once I got out of that legal thing and said, look, you know what? I'm going to rebuild my life exactly the way I want it to be. And so I moved to another city and I started really sharing this stuff, right? You can see how excited I get. What is it for you that excites you? I started sharing that and instantly everything changed. And in 14 months, a company that was at zero went to $1.4 million in sales in 14 months because finally I was radiating what I was really here put on this earth to do. And the truth is, I believe everybody has that. It's what I call the internal flame. And there's two really big reasons why we have to ignite that internal flame for our lives and for the planet.
I love that. I love that. So, all right, I have like a million questions that are coming up all at once, but let's talk a little bit more about where collaboration kicked in and what that did to your business. Because you and I were talking before about and I remember actually you really checking this out with me when we first met is, how do I like to play with people and what are my values? And I think when you start to expand and you want to engage other people, whether it's clients or it's partners or strategic alliances, whatever that is, the more we understand what they're driven by, the more fun we're going to have, and the more we can stay in our heart rather than feeling frustrated and stressed out. So tell me a little bit about how collaboration kicked in for you, and how is that affecting your business now?
Collaboration is really huge for us. A couple reasons. Number one is I realized a long time ago that if I can help people get what they want, if I can really serve them in a big way and get what they teach out to the world, that it would also help me get my message out to the world. So collaboration is a huge part of our model. One of the things, though, I think that's really difficult, and what collaboration is, for those of you that don't know, like joint ventures, where you find another speaker, teacher, author, and you actually say, look, I've got this great program on this, you've got this great program on this. Could we maybe do a cross promotion where you mail to your list what I'm teaching and I do the same? Or maybe you create like an interview series where, like, Melanie's doing here, or like we're doing with the Messenger Revolution and our other shows, where we invite speakers that really vibrate at the same level we're at, and we basically promote them and they promote us. This collaborative model is basically people getting together and sharing a common purpose, a common value with their collective tribe, with their collective list, and in essence, lifting everyone higher. So that's what collaboration is. So the big key is that this really isn't a way of looking at the world that's competition, right? And I think when you're working in the head, it's very easy to get into that competitive mindset.
Yes.
Like, okay, I've got to get this piece of the pie and I can't do this or that. When you're really working in the heart, it's much more about, okay, how do we all collaborate and work together? And the big thing with collaboration when you're starting out, and I tell this, I tell this to my students all the time, it's not about how big your list is. It's not about how much you know or how long you've been in the industry. It's about what's the big thing that you want to do with your message and with your work. I call this, and please write this down, I call this your stand, STAND. If there's one thing you get out of this talk today, it's this: find your stand. Now, what is your stand, and why do I use those words? I want you to think back to the early 60s. And we have this segregated America, right?
Yeah.
And we have these buses where if you were a certain color skin, you had to sit in the back. If you're a certain color skin, you could sit in the front or sit anywhere you wanted, right? And one person took a stand, and she said, I'm not sitting in the back of the bus. And she said, enough is enough. She probably would have died for that cause. Nobody was going to move her, and she wasn't going to stop. And one person, against seemingly impossible odds, literally changed the face of a country, and I believe the world. Who was her? Who was that lady? Rosa Parks, right? And she said, no, I'm not going to do that. And so that stand is that thing that you so strongly feel in your heart that must happen on the planet. If you see an injustice happening where something's being violated, it's that part of you that raises up and says, no, I'm not going to let this happen. It's that cause, it's that purpose, it's that thing that brings you to life. You could be exhausted at the end of the day, but if you see something happening that you really feel is against like your core, you stand and say, you know what, I will do something about this. I will make this happen. That's one part of the puzzle. When you find that stand, and you bring that to partners, and you bring that to people, they're a lot more interested in helping you with that, seeing that to fruition, than how big your list is, how long you've been known. That's what I did. And the first time I ever decided to use this collaborative model, I had people like John, out of nowhere, I had people like John Assaraf, Mark Victor Hansen, Marie Diamond from The Secret, Jack Canfield, Joe Vitale, all, the people back in 2008 and 2009, and now that are just these A-list people out of nowhere, because my stand was really important and it aligned with them. So find your stand and spend some time investigating it, and then see that your work helps fulfill that stand and stop that injustice and spread that goodness in the planet. Share it with people who are in your industry and see what you can work together.
So it's almost like the thing that you're most passionate about is, and when you translate it to your business, it becomes the problem that you help people solve, or the promise that you can activate in them. And whether it's solving a problem or engaging them in a dream or a passion that they have, that's where, like you said, things just take off and they get fired up, is because you're finding the intersection of all that rather than trying to push a rock up the hill, and like,
yeah, exactly.
that's what it's like when you're not passionate and you don't have that engagement. I think that's
and people
really
remember
well
that. Like, for me, I think there's two big problems that humanity has. The first big problem is that we're sort of like living, each of us waking up every day, and we've shut off our passion, our abilities, our gifts, what we're really here to do.
Just getting
Every
by.
person has an internal flame. They have this voice. It's that voice that's when you're in traffic going to that job says, you know what, it has to be more. It's that voice at the end of the day that says, I'm meant for something more. It's that time in your life when you felt alive, you felt complete, you felt like everything was vibrating. Maybe you were driving and you had the top down, but life felt good. And you know that somehow you got to get back to that. Everybody has that, right? We've shut that off. The future of humanity rests on us tapping into that. Because when you're tapped into that, you're doing the things that you were put on this earth to do. You're solving the problem. You're making the contribution. Maybe you're just serving coffee, but you are so in love with serving coffee that you're awakening and activating the goodness in people that will later change the planet. That one thing, however, will make the biggest difference on this earth, is when everybody's back into that space. So that's the first big stand that I have. And secondly, it's this. We've subrogated this individuality for the collective, right? We've turned off what we really are, what we really want to be, what we really want to do for this collective model of what we should be doing, or how we should be earning income, and how we need to do this or take this job or do this way, because we don't know how. See, money is such a controller, because if we don't know how, then we're willing to do anything just to get that security, and we'll lose our own individuality and our own power. And that's the key that we can use to really change the planet, is everybody learning how to be and do these things on their own and share their message, make the world a better place, and have an abundant life.
I love it. Well said. So what do you think has been your biggest challenge as an entrepreneur?
Well, my biggest challenge really has been recognizing this gift. I mean, because, I could talk about it and I can kind of tell you where I am now, but there's a process you want to go through to get there. It's not just a matter of, okay, I have this dream, I'd love to do this, but there's a very specific process. And actually, like, what you want to do is go through it so that you actually turn on parts of your brain. You literally activate neurons and synapses and feelings around it. So it's so real, it's so true, that it's almost as if a new you has come forward. A new you has come into the fray, and now that you is creating your life. That you is creating what comes out of your mouth, your dialogue. And it will, and I don't want to sound creepy or scary, but it will take you over. And when that happens, you will be amazingly successful. And you will be connected to your heart if you've come from the right place. So going through that's been really difficult for me. And that's actually I have a process we take people through called the $1 Million Gift, and the value magic multiplier, how I did that, and it became really real and crystallized for me.
So it sounds like that might have been your game-changing moment too, when you learned how to, first of all, recognize that in you, but also, and I think I can definitely relate to this, and have had my own journey with staying in my $1 million gift and not getting pulled into other people's opinions about it. Yep. And by the way, when I went through my separation from it and got into my head, it nearly cost me my $1 million business. And I went through a very, very challenging, very ugly, very demoralizing time, because I stopped listening to myself and recognizing it. And I started letting other people's opinions and values and perspectives become more important. And, it was my fault. I let go and I stopped listening. And so I can't acknowledge enough how valuable this is. So would you agree that a game-changing moment for you was to not only recognize it, but to also learn how to stay in it and recognize when you've left it?
Absolutely. Every day when I wake up, I ask the question, what would make my heart sing? And, it might be that some of the things I have to do that day maybe aren't the funnest things to do, but, is the majority of my day, is the majority of what I'm doing, or can I find those things that are making my heart feel more expanded and fuller. And you know the difference and you can feel the difference. Think of a food you don't like or a person you don't like, and imagine having to sit down and spend time with them, right? It's like you go, you just sort of shrink up. You don't want to do it, right? And so you may have things in your day or business that you don't always like, I really don't want to talk to my accountant and deal with the taxes. But, is the majority of what you're spending your time on, is it expanding you? Are you excited about it? Does your heart feel full? Do you feel good? And the truth about that is it's not just about feeling good, it's about being connected to who you really are and getting the ideas, the wisdom, the unstoppable intuition to take those steps, and also staying grounded to what's the best thing to do for others. Because a lot of people, like you said, Mel, you get into your head and you're like, I've got to, maybe someone says do this or this is a good opportunity, but does it really feel like me? Does it really feel right? Does it feel expansive or does it feel constrictive? And just like that, I used to go do all sorts of things because they were there and people wanted me to do this and that, and they always would fall on their face. And just recently, a guy asked me, well, do you want to do this? And I said, man, I don't feel it in my heart. I don't feel excited about it. What are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, what are you
it's
talking
gonna make
about?
You money.
It ain't in my heart. My heart ain't singing. I ain't bringing,
That's awesome. Wait, say that again. That's a good one for everybody to remember.
I just made it up. If my heart ain't singing, I ain't bringing.
Honestly, here I thought you'd been saying that for years. It's great.
Oh, no.
Well, speaking of great quotes and mantras, do you have one that's really like your go-to, like the favorite that when you need to get yourself back on track?
I do actually, and I'm going to read it, so I'm going to look down a little bit on my screen, but I thought about this. This has been one of my favorite quotes for the last 10 years, and it's by a guy named Patanjali, and it says, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be.
I love that.
And that's really what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Tell me
that,
one reason why that's so inspiring for you, though.
Because I believe that nothing is impossible. Mm-hmm. I think that, empty wallets, empty pockets never stop anybody, but an empty heart always does. Mm-hmm. And Norman Vincent Peale said that in maybe a slightly different way, but I believe that's true. Is that when you're really inspired, when you're really in that moment and you really know what that's like, there's no limits. People will come out of the woodwork to support you. They will be excited by you. You'll be giving back that person what maybe they've lost. I work with all these big name speakers, and when I'm really in that place, some of these people that are just so far, like they're the A-list, the top of the A-list, and they talk on the phone and they hear this and they go, you know what? God, I want to work with you. Yeah. Why? Because they may have lost that, or maybe they just want to keep that going. So there is that power. It's beyond how big your list is, how well you're known, how long you've been doing it. It's inside of you. Find it. Find out what it is. And Mel, can I tell them a little bit about the messenger revolution?
Perfect transition. I was just going to ask you to talk about it.
Oh, good. Because actually, when I talked about that $1 million gift and the process, and that's actually one of the things that we are giving away at our Messenger Revolution event. It's an online event. You can tune in anywhere in the world. We're going to have people in over 100 countries tuning in. And you just go to this site, messengerrevolution.com. So messengerrevolution.com. And basically, once you just enter in your information, you'll get access to all the calls that Melanie and I are going to be doing. But you're also going to get this Value Magic Multiplier, your $1 million gift. And it's going to show you exactly how I found that and the step-by-step process to do it. And once you do, that'll never be the same. And then we're going to have something like 30 to 35 amazing speakers and messengers who are creating an incredible life. I mean, a pinch me life, doing what they love to do. All of them started in the same place that we did, frustrated, not knowing how to earn that $50,000 or $100,000, and they've all uncovered unique ways to do it. So my hope is as we share this with you, and Melanie and I pull out the best of the best things that they're doing right now, that working for them to create this amazing life, that you can't help but be changed by it. You absolutely will be changed by it and inspired and loved to know you can too. If I can do it, you can too.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about Messenger Revolution and the way in which we're going to be sharing these experts with our community is that when you listen to other people's fire and their energy, it's contagious. You get your fire activated. So if you're feeling in the dumps, it'll activate inspiration. If you're already feeling like you're in motion, it'll channel your creativity and allow it to exponentially grow. And you get great ideas. And there's a friend of mine that always used to say, I can't remember which one, I think it was James Malinchak. He always used to say, one idea can be worth $1 million. Yeah. You get one idea and you get that spark because you've listened to someone else and what has worked for them and how they catalyze their own $1 million gift. It could be worth a fortune to you, and it could be the thing you've been searching for. And it's so easy because you can listen in live, you can listen in. I know you'll have a way for people to get access to the replays, and you can listen to it over and over and over again. So I think everybody will get so much out of being there. Plus, it'll be fun to play with you guys in the Messenger Revolution, and I can't wait. I just adore you, Darius, and I'm so excited that our energies are catching fire together, and we get to do something fun like this.
Yeah, and I'll say really quick, so many people right now are not finding the job opportunities. They're not finding the stable job where they can go for 30 years or the company where they can be secure, right? So it's changing. The world is changing, and for a lot of people, it's a big challenge. And I always say, I think that there's going to be two realities. There's the reality of the people that kind of stay in the old model, which I think is going to get a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging to live that life that they want. And then there's the people in the new model that are building amazing lives, doing what they love to do, having freedom. I'm here at my home office. My two boys, they're almost a year old, they're in the other room, and I'm going to walk out and give them a hug. This is a great way to live your life. And so that's all available for everybody. And let the people that have been there, that have done it, that have shed the tears show you. It's what I wish I had, starting out. And what I still do this so I can learn and keep up to speed and continue expanding. So be on that other side of the world, because one big thing I'm going to share too is literally the number of people getting online to get help is going to literally be tripling in the next 7 to 10 years. It's huge things happening on the planet, and it's all shifting. So you'll be right there on the ground floor.
I love it. Thank you so much, Darius. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm excited to have more people join us at Messenger Revolution, and I'm really excited to have a whole nother collaborative spark taking off in my life. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'll just tell people again, it's Messenger, MESSENGER, revolution.com, and you'll get your $1 million gift and see Melanie and I have a lot of fun and ask some very powerful questions and get some powerful techniques for everybody.
I guess we should point out, too, that this is free.
Totally free.
Yep. So it's a complimentary gift for you to join us in this process. So thank you. And I would love it if, as you're listening in, think about that one spark that you got out of today's session with Darius. What's one thing that lit your fire, inspired you, a aha moment? Share it in the comments below. We want to hear what's causing you to not just optimize your success, but really what's going to transform your life and keep you in your heart so you're radiating all this passion and power in the world. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Darius. See you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone.